Hello, welcome back to my tutorial for the Full Stack Developer series. And today we will talk about some concepts when we develop a backend application. So this concept are very important that you need to know before you can do something more. Okay. Alright, so the first concept is the web. So what is it? Web is something like a page that you see on your browser where you enter to a URL, right? When you enter a URL and the browser return a web page that the user can read like this. But behind that, you see when you access to a link like this, this will create a request, an HTTP request to the web server, and web server will return you something like this, a page sort like this, and you cannot read this easily, right? You need a browser to show it in something like this that you can read. Okay, so this is called a web. So web is really an old. After that, we have another is a web service. So web service, instead of return the whole page, many code, right? It usually provide raw and confusing information for most users. It returns you a JSON and XML. So because this format, JSON or XML, is standard, even other device can use this data format to show the information. For example, here we have a web page can use the JSON and XML to show this page. And yeah, the web service is modern, and in this tutorial we will learn about this. We just create a web service, not web. Okay, web is very old. And yeah, so that is web service. Now we talk about the data we receive from a web service. It's the XML and the JSON, right? But before we go, before we go, what we will choose for using, you can see here we have the left side is the XML format, and the right side is the JSON. So you see here we have, for the XML we have some tag, right? Tag, and inside between two tags we have the content, the data, like this. But for the JSON we don't see any tag, we just see the title or the key and then the value. So this is shorter, right? Shorter. You see, because doesn't use the tag, shorter than XML, so it's weaker loading, less data, weaker loading, right? But both of them are used for sending data between application. All right, and yeah, in this tutorial we will use JSON, not XML. JSON is more common. And then another concept is API. API. I think you have ever listened about this, right? The API. So the API, or the application programming interface, or is used for transferring data between two applications. For example, here we have an application from the front end or client, and another application is the backend or the server. Okay, one is on your front end, might be your browser, maybe your mobile device, and something like that. And the backend is a server. And yeah, in this tutorial we will create the application running on the backend. And yeah, after we finish the Java, we also learn about the front end, the HTML, the CSS, JavaScript, and the React.js. But first, we just see how the front end communicate with the backend. They will use the front end will use the API. It will call API, which provided by backend, and then the backend will return you a data in JSON or XML format. Then the front end will use this data to display something. Okay. For example, you want to show a list of products. You will call an API something like a product, and the backend receives a card with the API product, and it will return a list. It will before it return, it will go to the database and get the list of product from database, and then return it via the internet to the front end. Okay, very easy to understand. And that is the concept of API. And then the RESTful API. So RESTful API is a standard used in designing APIs for web application to manage resource. So I list some rules here, but this is just a common rules. We have more than this, but these are very important. You need to remember. First, use the nouns, don't use the verb. For example, you have an API. For example, okay, just create something. Product. Okay, and in the link you need to put something like this, product. Okay, if you want to return a list of product, you need to use the nouns products like this, plural nouns, in case you want to get a list, or single noun when you get a single list, a single product. For example, and don't use this get product. Okay, don't use this. This is invalid. Okay, and then another rule is use correct HTML request method: get, post, put, or delete. So you use get when you want to read in data. For example, here you want to read the list of product, right? So you use here get mapping. All right, and for example, and you want to modify a product, right? You want to modify a product, right? You can change it to post mapping like this. Post, using for creating data. Okay, creating or modify. And in case you want to modify, you have another method that is put or post. But post mostly used for creating the data, and you use put for update the data. And when you want to delete, you need to use delete mapping. Okay, so this is the rule of using correct HTTP request method. And then is add version to your API. So when you create an API, you need to add a version. For example, for the link here, you need to add v1 or v2 like this to distinguish the version that you are you're working here. All right, and then you need to handle exception. You need to return the code for any exception, like when successfully, you need to return 200, and when you have something wrong, for 400, something like the client cannot connect into the backend, and 500 for the internal server error. All right, just remember that when you have exception that you that the framework doesn't handle for you, you need to do that. Okay, just add an exception, then the client can know what the situation. Yeah. All right, so that is some concepts you need to know before you can work with the backend coding. All right, if you have any question or want to know more, please comment below. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe the channel. Thank you, and see you in the next one.